Can we close my Teams entirely? These Teams are closed. Oh, maybe it is closed.
I don't see it.
Let's try it. All right, don't open
Okay, we're gonna hide that.
I will be running all the tech.
And you poor people.
So if something goes horribly wrong. Okay, we need to have an approval of the minutes. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Thank and yell out your name when you do it.
Jay Johnson.
That was good. That's very good. I'll put Sue first and Jake seconded, okay? Any discussion on the minutes? Any corrections? Okay, all in favor say.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, executive board reports. Steve, we're doing the MEC HR policy handbook. Would you like to tell us about that a little bit?
Yes, I can tell you a little bit about it. If we need to on these, I've got them queued up so I can bring them up and we can look at them. But this is probably the really tough one. You all have seen HR policy manuals. It's like 60 pages long and goes into great detail. Probably much more detail than Liz needs. But it's definitely, it gives us an HR policy in terms of, you know, like you would expect to have for an organization. Affirmative defense is what they like to call it in employment law. The board, well, our new contractors, my HR pros, did the template for us, and then the board actually went through and perfected it, and then we sent it back to them and perfected it again. And I think we have a policy that, you know, a standard policy that outlines the basic things that you would expect to have in an HR policy. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, get yourself a strong cup of coffee and sit down and read all 50 pages, but it's in that general membership meeting open packet. So the whole world theoretically could see it. I'm happy to answer any questions about it, though. I mean, I'm feeling like it's fine. I've written a handful of these myself and worked with other consultants. I feel like it covers all the bases, but happy to answer any questions.
And we had really good input from the board. They read it.
No,
I was impressed.
Mary Beth found a great problem. It prohibited the use of computer cameras because the HR manual did not really think about a Zoom-based world. It was thinking about people using cameras to spy on you, so.
And when there was no PTO in it or something.
There was no PTO either, yeah, and so we found that and fixed it, so.
Very good. Let's make a motion to accept it and then we'll discuss.
Actually, it's coming from the executive board, so. The executive board's a committee, so
Okay.
it's coming,
Asterisk by it.
well, we need to vote, but
We
we
do?
don't need a motion
Oh, then you just have to, all in favor of accepting it.
or discussion.
Are we discussing?
Sorry, Kate. Okay, so now,
Thank you. Yell out your name.
Eva, done.
Thank you, because we're recording this. Any second while I drink?
Second, Mary Beth.
Thank you. Any more discussion on it? Any questions? She is, yeah. All right, all in favor now, say aye.
Aye.
Well done. You've got it. Very excited. Okay, a revenue adjustment policy feels like Shannon, but is it not?
Shannon, you want me to handle
Happy.
it? Okay, so. Okay, so, this initially came as a request from University City. And what happened at University City is they had a big flood and they had an insurance settlement of about 1/5 of their total revenue. Like their total revenue for the year was inflated by about 1/5 because of their insurance settlement. And so, so what happened, I guess the state library requires that sort of revenue to be reported as revenue when you turn it into the state library, which is what we use for calculating membership dues and things like that. And so there was this huge influx of revenue that had nothing to do with really library service. It was restoring his building. So it's not like he was buying new books, he's buying replacement books, wasn't buying new books, and it was seriously inflating his revenue. So, so University City came to us and asked if they could, if that could actually be decreased by the amount of the insurance settlement. And the board decided that, yeah, that was a good idea. And so as we send their first year membership, we're going to decrease that by that amount, but then thought it might be a good idea to have a similar sort of policy. So the oh golly, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying. Thanks for keeping me honest. I'm trying to have good eye contact for the room and I'm not paying attention to that. Okay, so the recommendation that was taken up by the executive board and voted on to bring to the full membership is MEC members may appeal their membership fee based on one-time revenue increases from insurance and other settlements. However, one-time revenue increases associated with development, grants, gifts, fundraising, and the like that ultimately has an impact on MEC services will not be considered for appeal. With authorization from the executive board, a library's revenue line may be adjusted and the association management will be instructed to issue a new invoice based on the adjusted revenue amount. And if the membership votes in favor of this policy will take effect September the 1st going forward. The board voted to already relieve University City of their specific situation, but then in the future, if somebody has a giant roof leak, you have an insurance settlement, then that amount could be backed out if you let the executive board know. So that was the recommendation.
Yes. Any questions? Yes.
Does a member library have to request this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Steve.
Play the devil's advocate here a little bit, because we were just talking about here, we got, $250,000 grant for hotspots.
Not
One time.
applicable.
Exactly. But maintenance and any kind of building, any kind of capital improvement you do to your library, like if you have a flood and if you don't get insurance, so you're gonna pay money to fix that, it's still library operation. I don't see how, yeah, it's a one-time unique thing, but if I transfer $500,000 from our reserves to do building improvements one year, it's still part of our library operations. It's still integral to our facility. So I don't know how it's any different than anything else we do, I don't know why an insurance settlement to pay back money to do renovations, to fix a problem with our building, a capital expense, would be different than any other expense we have.
Because it's a one-time infusion.
There's a lot of one-time infusions with cash that we use for things.
But
So Steve, like, I know how my library is set up, I don't know how yours is set up. But like, when I do a transfer like that, it doesn't show up as new money, it's just shifting around money in the pots. So if you have
Where
somebody
you
takes,
take it from, man?
all of our money's held by the city.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, so you're looking at, you have some kind of external account that your reserves that you're bringing new money in.
Okay.
Is that what yours is set up?
Well, for example, using reserves, say I take $250,000, not for hotspots, but $250,000 to replace all our carpeting and paint all our buildings.
So that $250,000, do you report that in your annual statistical report as new income?
Well, it'd be part of our budget, be part of our annual.
But is it new income? This is just strictly income.
Consider it part of our operating expenses that year.
But isn't it already part of your money?
Well, it'd be our reserves.
Right.
But it's not new money coming in from an external.
Well, would it
source.
count then toward that or not? That's my question, I guess, then.
Not if it already belongs to you.
You've already reported that money that was in your reserves, you've already reported that to the state at some point on your statistical report. And that's where all the membership dues are based on, is your revenues from the statistical report.
Okay. And I don't agree, but that's fine.
It's just to help those who have this, and I don't think this is gonna be claimed very often. But it's to help the really odd weirdness, keep that from draining their budget out in a year.
Floods, tornadoes.
Tornadoes, floods, right, that's what I mean, yeah. My building's insured for like $10 million. I mean, if I had a loss, here would come $10 million. I couldn't afford my dues I couldn't afford it that year. Evergreen at all. I couldn't afford anything that year, honestly, if I was trying to make sense. So any more questions or concerns? So the executive board has approved this, so we'll see if the membership wants to approve it. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Steve? Okay, I just gave you
We're
a
still
chance.
debating it.
Okay,
It's fine, whatever.
that's all right. It's okay. Well, it passed, so yeah, okay. Authority control service replacement. He's looking for it.
Yep,
There we go.
I've got it. So,
Oh, yeah.
Liz, do you want to talk about this? Please?
It sounds fun.
Well, and it really does, you know, it's your world, so.
Okay, so, our company's closing, they announced 4 months ago that they were closing a shop there to do our authority control. So that is, they come in and look at the record, they look at the specific authorities, they update things, basically it's done in batch alongside Equinox. This was kind of a surprise. Usually businesses and libraries, they just announce they're closing. So everybody was at a scramble. You should have seen AutoCAD. People were on fire. So Steve and I have been looking at replacement vendors because going without authority control creates a bit of havoc in the catalog. You don't want to see what it looked like. If you think it's the Wild West now, you have no idea. So we've been looking at other vendors. We talked to OCLC. OCLC, as OCLC is, was kind of exorbitantly expensive, and they did not even offer the service that we definitely are used to and needed. So Steve reached out to Backstage. Backstage is partnered with Equinox. Is that a newer thing, Steve?
It is, it's a newer, yeah, new
But
arrangement.
it just makes it more streamlined for us, and I think that's how we got such a good deal on what they're offering. Kate and I expected the quote to be probably twice as much as what they're giving us, so it really is a good deal on what we're getting. And it just is replacing what we already have with options to do more with different thesauri if we chose to in the future.
And the quote was very reasonable.
Yeah,
for
so
the shop.
reading the menu from the right to the left, bottom line, what's it gonna cost, right? Is it's $24,118.20 to migrate to Backstage. That does include sort of an initial sweep and cleanup of our database, which hasn't been done in a very, very long time. And lots and lots of discounting. So for example, if we actually look at the quote here, you can see that initially that one client the client migration fee, initially $12,000, it was bumped down to $5,000 for us. And you know, Kate kept telling us she was thinking that it would cost us $20,000 just for that initial thing. Be lucky to get out of this for $50,000. Our total estimated cost is going to be about $24,000. Our budgeted amount for Marchive was, I think, $23,000 or something like that. So I mean, it makes sense to do this from staff perspective. I mean, our recommendation and the recommendation from the executive board was after speaking to Cat Help Group and members of the executive board, we recommended that Missouri Evergreen Consortium accept Equinox's quote for Backstage for authority services, starting as soon as possible.
Yes,
And then after migration, is it still at the 23,000?
No, at that point, then the cataloging service goes by record, right? And so it's like 10 cents per bib record, which was similar to what Marchive was doing. And so that doesn't really, that doesn't change.
Any more questions? Okay, well, we will vote on it.
Mhm.
All in favor? say
Couple
aye.
questions online.
Aye.
Meg.
Yeah, there's some
Any opposed?
questions online.
Thank you. All right. Executive Director report.
I just wanted to update everybody on migrations. So, as you know, the Municipal Library Consortium came live in October. Also coming live in October was Aspen for the Municipal Library Consortium. And MessageBee also came live at that point. In part, all of those came live because they had to all come live at the same time in order for everything to work. Initially, I would suggest, and I know we've got people from MLC on the Zoom yeah, I would say that a lot of it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, in terms of, because it was much more complex than I think any of us were willing to let ourselves believe, unfortunately. And a lot of that has gotten more in control, I would suggest, or I would actually, since Patrick just walked in, we could ask Patrick. No, we were just talking about the migration, Patrick, and that the initial feeling was it was probably a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back initially, and it's settling down. It's becoming a little bit more predictable.
Yeah.
But even with that, we did decide to prolong the migration period. Normally, we would have signed off on migration in the middle of November, but they are still under migration contract until the middle of December, just to try to clean up several issues. Anything else to add?
Some things,
Yeah. Okay, okay. But that was the really big thing. MessageBee is going really well. I mean, I think I've told several of you via email, we've got 98% success in terms of successful deliveries. We had no idea what our successful delivery rate was on our previous text-based messaging, so that's good. And there's lots more that we can be doing as we're improving and continuing to implement MessageBee. We did have something just not too long ago where the success rate just plummeted. And for some reason, we sent a bunch of text messages to people without phones. And I don't know why, but that certainly did decrease the amount of success. But I just checked it again this morning. I think it was 98% yesterday. So we're doing really, really well in terms of our success rate. And then, of course, we had Aspen for the legacy libraries, which has signed off. We've actually signed off on that. And I think a couple of libraries have publicly launched, and the rest will publicly launch by the end of the by the end of the calendar year. Those are the big migrations. And now we're all just trying to catch our breath, make sure that we've got all of the loose ends tied up with MLC before we start looking to recruit for the next round. And there are plenty of people who are already contacting us about recruiting, so.
Exciting. Thank you.
Mhm.
Financial report. This is Shannon.
This issue.
We'll all watch her as she walks out. And I'll move.
Good morning.
Be careful.
Podium, I will. Okay. So we'll start with the Brookmont account.
You want Brookmont?
Yeah. 2 statements went out in your meeting packet this month. One was the Brookmont money market account. I'll give a little background. In February of 2024, we decided to transfer some money from the Missouri Evergreen banking account into an interest-bearing money market account with Brookmont. At that time, it was an initial $50,000 deposit. It's earning around 5% interest, so about $200 a month. So year to date through October 31, from February to October 31, for 8 months, it's earned $1,663 in interest. We'd like to transfer more money into that interest-bearing money market account, but we're really trying to evaluate our cash flow and make sure we know how much we can afford to transfer. And you can see that if you look at our checking account statement.
There we go.
October 1, Missouri Evergreen had about $50,000 in its checking account, $51,315. When we pay a lot of our fiscal year, expenses at the beginning of our fiscal year, and then we're billing out our Missouri Evergreen membership fees, and we're waiting for that income to come back, we really get a low bank balance when we start our new fiscal year. And that's the reason why we've invested so little in that money market account. We don't know how much more we'll transfer at this time. You'll see then we received $262,000 in Missouri Evergreen fees, and by the end of the month, our bank account was $301,000. So I just kind of wanted to show why we've invested so little so far in an interest-bearing account. But we did start one this year, and we are growing that. Hopefully one day we'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. And then this year's budget starts with the balance sheet. Between our checking account and our Fidelity investment account, we're at about $350,000. We still have $40,000 in Missouri Evergreen fees and archive and synthetic fees that we're still waiting to receive in. And it ended the month at $389,000 in equity. It's really early in the fiscal year. We only showed 2 months of expenses on our budgets versus actuals report, which I think is that last page. No, the last page, accounts receivable, next to last page. You'll see that we've received almost all of our Missouri Evergreen membership fees. That amount of $35,000 is almost what outstanding Missouri Evergreen fees that we haven't billed yet to MLC. We don't bill until 30 days after go live. Those bills should be going out this month. And expenses seem to be on par. The only thing that's a little bit out of whack is that state unemployment line. Steve's investigating that. We don't know why it's charging that much in state unemployment. We just set up HR payroll processing to begin September 1st. So that's new for us and we're working out the kinks, but I think it's working really well. And then you'll see that we have paid Equinox about 50% of their bill. Equinox bills us in 2 billings at the beginning of the year and 6 months in around March. And those are our 2 biggest expenses, obviously, for the years, Equinox hosting and support. And of course, we have not yet received any of our LSTA grant funds. Those come later in the year. And often we receive our final grant payment after our fiscal year wraps up, and we have to go back and add that to the prior year's financial statements. Any questions?
What does our LSTA grant amount total? What do we expect to receive?
$168,000 this year.
Okay.
So they usually fund it between 60 and 75% of the annual hosting fee is usually what we apply for and they approve. Historically has been what they've done with LSTA funding. More questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, we do need to make a motion to approve this, correct?
Yeah, we usually do an approval of the financial report.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the financial report for her?
A question in the chat.
Hearing none, thank goodness.
Hey,
Oh, wait,
question in
Kate's
the
got
chat.
something.
Oh, Kate's waving. We have to talk to Kate. Hi, Kate.
We have several
Oh,
questions
you're
in
muted.
chat
We can't
that
hear
have
you.
not
Oh,
been
no.
Well,
addressed.
she may not be muted. We
Uh-oh,
just
we
may not
just
be
can't hear
hearing
her.
her.
Do you know sign language?
Yeah, she doesn't seem to be muted,
Uh-oh.
but I can't hear her.
This is when I tried to do a sound check earlier.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
Let's try that.
It should be on the Zoom.
Thank you. Yeah.
In the taskbar.
Which is left on the text. Move out of the way.
So, yeah, down there,
Let's try that.
choose.
Testing. Testing.
No, try.
Okay.
Hello, testing,
No, we still can't hear her.
testing.
This part.
That's loud. The beepers are loud.
Now.
Just try you again, Kate. Still nothing?
Testing, testing.
Hello?
Oh, we're hearing Kathleen Gallagher.
Oh, Kathleen, yeah.
It's the chat. Look at the chat, please. Questions in chat.
Yeah,
you.
you've missed several questions from other things that we voted on. I'm just, look at the,
Yikes.
So
Sorry, chat window got closed, so, okay.
you guys still can't hear me, is that correct?
No, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, great, 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 great. Okay. Yeah, so before we move on, there were several things, so, Krista wanted to know about, the Marchive cost versus Backstage. We have the 24,000, we had 23 something allotted for the year, but that's all going to be taken up by Backstage and, you know, setting us up, them being our vendor. So what about the month to month after that? What's the cost of that compared to Marchive? Is that, Krista, sorry, Krista, you can answer.
Yeah, yeah, and I see the question. Sorry, I missed that. For some reason, the chat box got closed, so I apologize about that. The estimated cost for 12 months with Backstage was $24,000. That included the migration and the monthly fees for the first year. And so, and as I mentioned before, the budgeted amount was 23.5 or something like that. So we definitely have the money to cover it. In terms of what it will be going forward, a lot of it is a cost based on record maintenance, and it's 10 cents per record. So depending upon how much we do, it could be more or less, but based on our history, it's about 20,000, 25,000 in that ballpark is probably what it will cost us to do annual maintenance. For the discounting that we got to migrate, basically they gave us the migration for free. And going forward, it'll again cost about, the estimate is about $24,000. In terms of migration, we don't have a date, but it would be sometime in, our pricing was held through the end of the calendar year. We would probably we would migrate probably as soon as we were able. Liz is nodding yes, so.
Shane, I have a question about how Marchive is billed to the members. So the last few years, we've billed for Marchive and arrears. Missouri Evergreen was billed monthly based on whatever the monthly Marchive invoice was based on the record work they did for the month. Missouri Evergreen would pay that bill, we would total that in the budget report, and at the end of the year, we would bill members for the full year, and we'd have a formula based on circulation. Members are billed for catalog enhancement and authority control based on a formula based on their annual circulation, whereas Missouri Evergreen membership fees are is a formula based on annual income. And we get all of those numbers from the PLS. So that's where we're finding that information. That's where we're basing those formulas, and that's how those bills go out to the members. So now with Equinox handling authority control, we think will be billed annually by Equinox. That'll be a lot easier on the administrative side of things and a lot easier on Amigos. But a lot easier on me because I'm gonna email everyone asking me to approve Marchive billing.
Right.
And then we'll take that annual billing from Equinox and we'll plug that into the formula. And each member will pay a portion of that based on their circulation in that Marchive formula. Questions about that?
Shannon, before you sit down,
Yes.
there was another question when you were talking about the money market that Krista had in the chat.
Okay, so yeah, that was the money market. Thank you, Kate, for clarifying. Is there a reason not to put most of it in there and then just transfer it out as needed?
I'm not sure, Krista, because we can transfer money between the money market and the banking account without penalty. So I don't know if we would need to work with Amigos on how that logistics of that would work. I've never asked the question of Amigos. I do know that we can, it is very liquid because it is a money market. We can withdraw as needed without a penalty, but we've never sat down and talked about how what that would look like and how it would work. But it's a great question, and maybe we should investigate a little bit more and kick the tires on it.
To take money out of Brookmont, Shannon?
Yes,
Yeah, you have to have a, motion and we'd have to have minutes
okay.
with, secretary's signature, so you have to go through
So it's not like a sweep account where we could just,
Transfer back and forth.
right,
Yeah,
Right.
we have some documentation.
okay, so, yeah. But
Still a little bit more clunky than maybe if you had an account where you could just transfer back and
Yeah, like
forth
if you had a.
from a banking portal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commerce, money market, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's little more, there's a little more structure around it, but
Okay.
for good reason, so, yeah. Better interest.
Lot better interest. Are we caught up?
we're caught up as far as I can see.
All right.
And again, I apologize, folks. I have no idea how that got
Okay. I think-
And Kate, you were waving and did we get, I think you were just helping us find the
Yeah.
chat. Did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay,
Thank you,
cool.
Kate.
Thank you.
All right, we were approving the financials, I think. Does that sound right? Yeah, okay. Did anybody yell out if you want to make a motion?
I motion that we approve the financials, Gina Miller.
Gina Milburn, okay, any second?
I'll second it, Colleen.
Colleen, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good job. We got through that one. Committee reports. We're up to cataloging first. Kate Coleman, would you like to share that with us?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick few things that the committee and our Missouri Evergreen catalogers have been doing. Really, there's been a lot of discussion about Marchive closing their doors. So thank you for approving Backstage because we really did anticipate having to not have authority control for all of 2025 because we didn't think we would be able to afford it. So was great news. So we're super happy about that. Liz continues to have certifications and recertifications rolling in, and she is also starting to plan the 2025 cataloging regional trainings. Those are always a great time. So as soon as we get plans for those, hopefully you can get those on your calendar and come do that with us. Since we have last met, we have 9 new Missouri Evergreen libraries. So what does this mean? It means a little chaos for our catalog. So I just wanted to, our mantra as Missouri Evergreen catalogers, see emerge, do emerge. So let's keep that in mind. And otherwise, we have no December meeting. Our next meeting is January 13th at 11 o'clock. I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any questions? They remain silent. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, circulation. There's Rhonda.
Hi, good morning. I just have a couple of quick things too. This is my last chance to remind you, I know it's coming up later in the agenda, but get that deleting project going. I don't know about you all, we had a lot of, Cass County had a ton of internet only patrons that came on during COVID. And so it was a bigger number than what I thought it was going to be, took a little bit longer. So I would encourage you to get that going. I believe, Steve, is it not that it's like the first week or right at the beginning of January that Equinox is going to purge?
Correct. Yeah, I don't have the date itself, but it's usually they usually target the first full week of January. And I put in the work order. They just haven't given me the date yet.
Okay. So the other thing on Message B, I wanted to remind you, and it is in the report, a patron, if they opt out of Message B, receiving messages, we cannot, us, the libraries, cannot start them back up again. The only way for them to start up again is to text the word start to the Message B phone number, and that would get them going again. So if your patrons have opted out, whether they did it on purpose or not, that would be how you could get them going again. And then things that the committee is working on, we want to begin a conversation with Equinox to see if there is a way to facilitate holds being able to be placed on age-protected things. The hold would just sit there until age protection ended, similarly to what happens when something is on order. You can place the hold and then it just waits until hold protection is gone. So is there a way for that to happen once hold protection is there? There's no more on order items. Is there a way to do that? And then they would just, those holds would wait just like till the hold protection is done, just like if you had done it while they were on order. So we're going to be talking to them about that. We're also looking into the holds go home setting that MLC selected. Before we just go wild and crazy, oh, let's do this, it causes your holds to come back to you. We want to do a deeper dive into it to see how that would affect the proximity settings that we already have in place and what it would do to courier volume back and forth between libraries. So we're just going to jump in there and possibly even with Steve and hopefully working with Equinox to find out. So we really understand what is going on before we just say, yes, this is great, do it. And then we run into problems down the line. And the very last thing is if you have staff members who have the general staff permission group as their permission group, that permission is most likely going to go away at the beginning, sometime at the beginning of the year. So I would encourage you to take a look at your staff permissions and move those people who might be in general to CERC or cataloging or admin or some combination of those as depending on what their work is, so that when we're ready to actually do it, everything is already lined up before we get there. So, and then we also are not meeting in December, and our next meeting will be January 28th. So, any questions that I could answer?
Yes, Mary Beth.
Can we tell if a patron has opted out of message B, or do we
I
just
can.
assume? Oh, so we won't ever know?
No, I'm working on that. I'm working on Message B, getting us a report that like once a week, I can send you a report of all of your failures. So, you know, all of the message failures. And but specific to each library, because we don't want to.
I hope it comes on Monday.
Yeah, sorry, that was a bad choice of words, but I think you can see what we're going for. I mean, so all of the different ways that the text messages may have failed, I can send them specifically to your library. You can look into that account, you can contact the person, see if they opted out, meant to opt out, how to opt back in. If the phone number, sometimes I can look at it and I can see what the problem is. The phone number is like 27 digits long. And so that's why it didn't work. But, and so I'm working with Equinox and Message B to perfect a report that I can send. And yeah, getting that as soon as possible. And MEC did a really good job. I was looking in my phone to try to find this, but just for the record, the phone number that all the text messages come from is 660-324-0279.
I think there's a question.
That was it.
That was
Oh, Krista, we've had
Krista.
a long conversation about that go home
the
feature.
holds go home.
Yeah, and they keep bringing up like, yes, buts. So that's why they're still investigating it, because that was our understanding too, until somebody threw, you know, other questions into it. Yes, but, and so that's why they're gonna look into it. Okay, thank you, Rhonda. Anybody else for Rhonda? Thank you, Rhonda. All right, is Tony on or in the room? I should have looked.
I don't
No
see.
one looks like
Nope,
Tony in here. Okay. For reports, Leanne, you're in. I see. You're a consortium assistant. And you're well, I meant that. Yeah, Leanne Santee or Mary Kay, yeah, whichever one. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And you're muted. If you want to give a report, you don't have to.
This is
There she
Mary. Kay. Is Leanne not there or is she attending?
I don't see her. I think
Yeah,
you're.
she's not here.
Not here. I think you're in.
Yeah.
Gina, her boss says she is not here.
And I don't know why she's not on, except that she's doing the Evergreen Courier stuff today.
Oh, that's okay.
Whatever, right?
She has a job.
Okay.
I can bring you up to date about consortium, assistance network if you like.
Yes.
Okay, we are looking at creating a manual for local administration for Missouri Evergreen so that new libraries and staff coming into existing libraries, particularly new directors who are hired into existing Evergreen libraries, need guidance with local administration. So we've started that editing process and pulling that together. We did our first sessions of Tier 1 of Missouri Refresh, which is for new staff migrating into existing Evergreen libraries, new directors and administrators particularly. It went well. It didn't go as well as I wanted, but it went well. And we will be looking at archiving information on Odoo and making that available to everyone 24/7. We are looking at creating an Odoo training for training the trainer for mentor libraries that assist new migrations, because we've had lots of questions about how to go about mentoring. So those are the three big goals for 2025.
Yes, Eva.
This is reports, right?
This is CAN assistance,
Okay.
consortium assistance. Do not ask questions about reports. Even no.
Do not ask me questions about reports.
That's kidding. That's Ron. Ron
Will
likes
she
to.
have another tier 1 meeting or a reschedule or tier 2 or?
Will you have another tier 1? Or will you be going to tier 2?
We will be issuing Tier 2 in the spring, and Tier 2 is forward-facing skills. Tier 3 is local administration skills, and we hope to time that with the availability of a local administration manual.
What was tier 3 again, please?
Global administration.
Local administration.
No. That's on, this is what she said. Okay, yes.
Yeah, right.
And the whole thing is under local.
That's what I heard.
Tier 2 is. It's forward facing.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Tier 2 is forward-facing. It's using your MAD Evergreen skills to serve your public better.
Why we have staff. All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. We appreciate that a lot. All right, Jane is in the room. It is her turn. And I'll move.
Long list. You never have a long list. I have a long list today. News that you would like to know, but it's not going to make any difference to you.
Say it really loud.
Okay, okay. News you'd like to know, but it's not really going to affect you day to day. Henry has merged with Capital Express of Omaha. All of our functions will continue through all the Henry emails. All of that is the same. They've worked together in the past. I think it just adds Nebraska into Henry's little thing, and then they get to say they have access to Missouri and all of that. So I will keep you appraised if anything changes on that. I did ask them the most important question is, this is our RFP year. If you recall, 3 years ago, we only had 2 bids on the courier service in the state, Henry, and the one that's twice as much. So I was like, oh my God, what's this gonna mean to the RFP? And they were like, oh no, we're participating in that. So that was the big like, okay, no, I don't care so much as long as I can get these people to continue to do what they're doing. And as we all know, people up in upper management really have nothing to do with day-to-day things that run the world, so probably is not going to even notice any difference. We'll still be reporting to our people that we report to up in Henry. I had 2 libraries. Mala totes, so I brought them and I put them down in the big room, so Riverside has 2 and Cary has 4. So they're kind of on the side wall. I do want to say I took like Katrina and I went out to my vehicle, we measured, we did all the geometry to see how many we could bring, because I thought there'd be a huge input. I could have brought 36, but I brought 6, so. So a couple questions about supplies. So I'm just gonna give you the run through. You put in your supply request, comes to our computer, we fill it that day, Katrina or Marcy or I, depending on who's working when it comes. Sends you an email saying, hey, we got it, we've sent it out. It really means that we just put it on the table to be sent out the next day, because our office isn't at the Henry Warehouse in Kansas City. So it actually gets to the Henry Warehouse the following morning. And then they've already probably sent all their trucks out before our truck gets there. So then it sits another day. Then it goes to your warehouse. And then depending on if you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 day a week library, it gets to you. So this is not immediate, and it depends on, when it falls. Like you may have if you're just a 1 or 2 day library, we may have missed that day. So we don't want to say it comes in a week. If you're a 5 day a week library, you haven't gotten it in about 7 days, let us know. If you're a 1 or 2 day library, give it probably 2 weeks, because it just has to hit the right cycle when it arrives. You can request anything in supplies. You can request 5 bags, you can request 20 bags. If we have them, we'll send them. If we don't have the amount you requested, we'll say, hey, we don't have that, but we have this, and you'll get that from Katrina, so you'll know. Once in a while, we send out those emails Katrina does about the hoarders who have a closet full of their bags, which is fine. We all have our own things we like to do. And that doesn't mean we're totally out of bags, but it's just kind of a reminder, like, hey, sometimes things are out of balance in the summer because of summer reading or whatever. And now it's like, you can send them back. You don't need to be the holding for it all. If we are desperate, we will let you know, but we got an order of 500 bags, like, I don't know, a couple months ago. So we're in good shape with bags. Same with totes. However, we won't send you 10 totes because no one's vehicle, mine, but can hold 10 totes and all their other things. So we'll send you 1, 2, or 3 totes, depending on your size of library and what if you say, oh, I need them, but you can't use them for like storing your discards or something like that.
I just want to add something to that. Sometimes, depending on your driver, you can ask them, because there's one time it was really low and they had empty totes for us to use as well.
Good point, thank you, Jane. Yeah, be friends with your driver. They have like all kinds of power that we don't even know about. We don't even know their names, so you have way more contacts with, we have no contact with them. So, make them your best friend, give them a Christmas cookie. And if they're vaping in your library, report them. So just, if you're like, oh, guys, we always have this homeschool thing that we're always getting lots of stuff or sending out, whatever, receiving things in January, we always have to, that's our higher stat month. Just, you can send it. We don't care if you're using it the next week or a month from now. If you need them, you need them. So, okay, so it's super cold today, so this is making me think of snow days, and we had the blizzard in Kansas City and here on Saturday. So holidays and snow days are gonna delay what comes into your library. It may not delay the delivery, but if they're like, Missouri's got 17 different zones of weather. Like you could be having an ice storm, we could be having a sunny day, someone else could be having a monsoon, all on the same day. So, sometimes drivers can't make it to your library, so that delays. Sometimes the big trucks can't get out. And sometimes it's just, if a holiday and we're closed, Henry's closed, that just kind of backs up. And that may have been your day of delivery. And so you didn't get that delivery like last week on Thursday and Friday. If you were Thursday, Friday deliveries, you didn't get any deliveries. So it kind of just builds a backlog in the warehouse. And again, knowing some libraries will 1 to 5 days, it really varies. So in the case of a holiday or snow, if you're seeing like, oh man, we're just not getting much, give it a week to kind of work its way through. If at that point you're like, we still have 200, 300, 100 items out that we think should have been here by now, let us know. And we just send that, if you have exact figures, we just send the exact figures on to Henry and say, hey, they're waiting on 100 books since November 1st or whatever. And then that kind of prompts them to search not only your warehouse, but all the warehouses, because sometimes people just make mistakes and they just got sent to the wrong warehouse. And so those people at that warehouse are like, I don't know, this isn't one of ours. So you think they would, solve that, but sometimes they don't. They just leave it in a corner. Let's see. Okay, my favorite thing to talk about, stats. So we'd like to get the stats by the 5th. At this point, it's less than 50% of all of NPLD who get us stats by the 5th. So I'd love it if we could get that up higher, or at least get it up higher by the 8th. So just remember, like, oh, let's mark it on the calendar. It shouldn't take too long. If you're having problems, perhaps I can help, but everybody has the evergreen. We can talk about it. So if you're having like, I just don't know what to do, or and also if somebody's coming in new, you're able to help them better with stats than we are. We can help them with, here's the form, here's what we're looking for, but you might have some more evergreen report kind of information, or here's how we do it. So if you can be a good neighbor, that would be helpful. We are still having some problems with the partner courier stats. We're getting them fewer and fewer each month. So if you hear from Katrina, it's usually Katrina, not me, that she needs to talk to you or she leaves a message for you about those, please respond, because we have a few people who just ignore our reaching out. So we have like just blanks. And we can usually help you figure out what you're doing. And it's usually pretty easy. Kokomo, for example, if you're doing a Kokomo or Amigos, you're going to a whole different label maker. And so sometimes just knowing that, you're like, oh, my people never do that. So it's going to be 0, or maybe we might have 1. Kokomo also makes you do weird things with it, rubber band it, put staple things around it. They don't like a bag. They're just unique. So that would stick in the person who does this mind, like, oh, I never do that. So your answer to 0 would be 0 on Kokomo. That's really important. All of these stats are pretty important because our RFP is going to come due here in a couple months. And we report all those stats on the RFP, so they know what kind of volume they're bidding on. And so we need to be accurate. And so we may be doing a little more fine, looking at it with a little microscope to see like, oh, this looks weird. Like most of you do the same kind of levels of stats. Your stats don't change a lot month to month. So when we see weird things, we might be like, we need to make sure this is actually happening. We had an evergreen library that had a huge increase 1 month, and we called them. They were like, oh yeah, we were doing blah, blah, blah. So we just kind of check on that. The other thing, so welcome to the new 9 libraries. So they're creating havoc with our stats. So the 2 weeks of October, everybody kind of went up, to be expected. And now November stats, not everybody's are showing all kinds of things. Some libraries have gone down. Some of the big libraries that probably used to be the big providers, maybe now they're going to those 9 libraries. So some of those have gone down. So a month is hard to make a judgment on, but it is interesting to see what will happen. On the all holds come home, Rhonda, if you'll just let me know what you find out about what you decide, because that will make a huge difference in courier stats, which makes a difference on bottom line for libraries and also for our RFP. And so that, I'm not gonna enter in that conversation, but just keep me posted. Labels, and I think this probably has settled down, but there was some talk of people kind of going rogue with labels. You can't. So, we've worked with Equinox, they know what the labels do. Henry controls the labels. They're a kind of established label. And if you're sending to Cass County, you have to send it to like Cass County. You can't just say, I'm gonna send it to Archie, because nobody knows what, when you put Archie on the label, like nobody but Robin and I know where Archie is. So it has, it doesn't go to every branch. Each library has their own designated, if they're a multi-branch thing. So I just had heard that there was some discussion of that. So, like I said, it's probably worked itself out. The only other thing is, we've had 2 reports, one with the IKEA kind of bags, that was actually a Henry thing, which was to help with the damaged wet items. So if you're still having that show up and let me know, because we haven't heard about that for a while. And then the other thing is some scissor totes, and I think this is a library thing, so we checked with Henry and we checked with Kate, and it seems like it was not a Henry thing. But if something shows up weird, you're like, what is happening here? What's going on? Let us know, because sometimes it's just your fellow libraries, and sometimes it's the Henry folks maybe trying to be helpful or being desperate to use something odd. But just let us know. So we're there Monday through Friday, so we answer pretty quickly. If you send late in the day, we may be gone for the day, and then we'll just get it the next morning, but that's like after 4:30. Because Janet's always emailing me like after 5:30, and I'm like, Janet is working too late. So questions? Come on, we've got a ton of questions.
Not a question, I just want to add something. There are many W libraries in Missouri Evergreen right now.
Yes.
I just got a message from my assistant, received more stuff for Webster County. So, of course, then we don't send out again until Monday.
Right. Yeah.
And, that of course increases our stats because there was about 15 items in a bag, so.
Right.
Please make sure you're sending to the correct library.
Yeah. And we've noticed, and it might be beneficial, I can't guarantee this, but we had a problem with some things going actually out to Colorado. And so what we just did was highlight, underline, this is going to Colorado, this is Denver. And it kind of helped solve the problem. So maybe on those libraries like Webster, Webb, all of those, just run a yellow highlighter, see if that helps. I don't have any idea if it will.
It actually has, it's all Webster, but it had our Web City label to it.
Yeah,
So it's not
right,
a courier.
exactly, yeah,
It's not
so,
a courier issue.
right. So, oh, I see, so it's a library issue,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they're just putting the wrong label.
Okay, then the highlighter won't help your county.
Oh, yeah, we did all the.
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah,
did all the meetings, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
and when you're a new person, you're like, oh, it's just, this must be it. And then you're like, oh, there's a million libraries in Missouri that have similar names. And so, good comment.
So honestly, if that happens, I prefer you just email me. I mean, if you could tell where it came from.
And sometimes depending on the library's receipts, we can't.
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean, that way I know.
yeah.
Right.
I can tell my staff each week in Monday minutes,
Yeah.
but, if we're doing it consistently, and we did that with Washington Public and Washington,
County.
the city or something,
I think it's county.
And they finally just called and said, hey, we've got 2 bags here that, and then it was easy to fix, right?
Right, exactly, because usually the director knows who's doing it. If they're not doing it, they are like, oh, I can just
They see
talk to
returning,
Becky,
right?
that's like, yeah. Or sometimes, yeah, it's like, you just gotta scroll down one more, because there it is, it's under that one. Yeah, so, yeah, I had a terrible time learning all these. I'm like, oh my God, there are all of these. So, yeah, anything else?
Okay, thanks, Jane. You're welcome. All right, we're ready for Janet from the Missouri State Library.
I will keep this brief since I'm doing a presentation at the NPLD conference, so this will focus only on evergreen things. So as I'm acting state librarian, main question is, what's going with the? Well, I have asked staff to help me on those responsibilities. So Terry Blauvelt will be helping with the Evergreen and MALA grants. He works with both Steve and Jane with the finances, and especially when we're doing the big conversation with Jane about the yearly, okay, what's gonna be the budget? He sits on that, so he will help on those. For the automation grants for libraries that want to migrate into Evergreen, Jefferson Holbert, our library technology specialist, will be working with me on those. He just started in August. He's really not familiar with the automation grants. He started with Tech Mini grants and things like that. So he is familiar with the technology. But we'll kind of be working together on those. And we do have some libraries that have reached out and are ready to do some rebar coding. Bonterre is done with rebar coding, so I need to reach out to them to when they actually want to migrate. I know Steve will actually need to kind of figure out the time frame for Evergreen and Equinox on that. That will work for Bonterre. Centralia has to rebar code and Glasgow has to rebar code. So we'll be working with them to rebar code before they even get to the migration grant. Because now we do libraries, they have to rebar code and prepare for migration. We do 2 grants for that. That way they get the rebar coding, the collection part done, and all the equipment in or updated that they need, so migration can go more smoothly. Web Dewey, I asked Liz earlier this morning how it's going for her. She's like, it's great. I'd like to hear from Katie, Ron. I don't know who else you gave Web Dewey licenses to, so.
Committee member.
Okay, how's it going?
I
You
already
like
have,
it?
already
Hate it?
have Web Dewey that my library purchases, so I like having access to it. Just a lot of times, like, spine tabs, the spine of a book is this big and the number is this big. So I like to go to Web Dewey. It's like, okay, for a small public library, do I need to go out to 6 decimal places after? And sometimes I don't, because I don't separate by language or geography, or my collection's just not that big. So it's nice to be able to break down and see exactly what that number means. And sometimes I do need to go out that far. So.
And how are you helping other member libraries?
I've not had anybody ask me yet.
Okay.
I have people ask me pretty much every day.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's
Liz
most
is more
important.
approachable. Liz is more competent with it than I am.
Ron is on, but
And she has cats.
I also get a lot of requests for Web Dewey help, so. I think it's just Liz and I are the ones, we're the face of cataloging, so we are the ones that get the requests the most, but once the word kind of gets out more that we do have more people that have access to it as well, they might help people more. But it's definitely getting used, and we appreciate it.
Great, great to hear that. Thank you, Katie and Ron and Liz, for your feedback. Appreciate that. Shannon had mentioned earlier during the treasury report about the amount of money that you get from the LSTA grant. And we start doing project proposals in January for the upcoming fiscal year. So in January, I'll be reaching out to Steve, or Terry will be reaching out to Steve to ask how much money the board would like to request for the FY 26 grant. So usually I let him know, hey, we're at this time, we need your information. He'll talk with the board, they'll do the discussion, and then he'll come back to state library and it's like, we'd like 60%, 80%, whatever percentage of the hosting and support fees that Equinox will be charging. And that's all I have that is Evergreen specific. Any questions? No?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kate said she liked it.
Oh.
So just relaying.
Steve's having all of his own conversations.
I'm having my
Thank
own
you.
conversation.
It's like, you're covering it and I appreciate it.
I'm trying.
You are doing great. Other matters, we've already talked about the annual patron purge. Be ready for the purge. All right, anything you want to add to the purge?
Well, just in case you've missed it, in the general membership packet that went out for this meeting, there's the memos and the walkthrough for that. So if you've forgotten how to do it or have questions about it, there's where you can get help. And you can also contact Rhonda because she knows this very well and she can help you with it as well.
That's right. In February, we will be upgrading to version 3.13. We're always one version behind the newest one. We let them fail and then we try to get the version that's working, which makes total sense to me. People have asked, why do we have the newest one? Ew. So we let it fail first for a while, then we get the one that's stable. So the test goes out in January, production in February. So it's usually not too frightening. I mean, it's been pretty stable, I think. So it's kind of fun to see the next morning what it looks like and what all the changes are. Anything about that?
No, once we get firm dates on all of that, I will let everybody know. But right now, we don't have firm dates. It's just our SOP and just reminding everybody about what we normally do.
Correct.
About that.
Yes.
Will Equinox do some sort of, session on new features coming with that upgrade that we could all watch? So we don't have to go try to read the release notes and all the documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as exciting as HR manual, release notes. I had not asked, but I can. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Shannon, I did see, a couple of months ago, I saw some, webinar type production on what changes for 3.13 are. So Equinox may have something like that already. I can check into it and we'll definitely be reading through, at least the CERC stuff. I will be to let you know. I know there's some column changes and some things like that coming, which I think, like drag and drop type things, but we'll be looking at it between now and then. At least the CERC people will be.
Well, the name drag and drop. Okay. Thank you, Rhonda. As far as announcements go, our next meeting is for the general membership will be February 13th. We do have a general membership, a users conference planned. And if you've gone to the past 2 years or even one of those, they were kind of similar. This next one's going to be completely different. We've revamped it. There's going to be breakout sessions. We're going to completely rethink it and make it really exciting, active, and fun. So please send people, come yourself. I don't know if it's a big secret. I'm just keeping it a secret, but it is going to be March, April-ish. And as soon as it's finalized, we'll be sending word out to everyone, and we'll certainly be talking about it in the February meeting, because by then we'll have some solid ideas.
I've signed papers and made deposits, so I feel like that's pretty
I wasn't gonna narc about it.
Well, I think we can, since we
Go
put money
ahead.
down.
Go ahead. This was the most reasonably priced place. I tried to get the lake because it's closer to me. And I failed. He's like, it's pricey down there, so never mind. So we're gonna be back here or adjacent hotels for all of you who don't stay here. It'll be here.
Mhm.
And we have lots of breakout rooms. So we can do lots of different fun things. And we're gonna try to mix it up this year. And
And the date is?
March 21st,
March 21st.
Friday.
Yeah, Friday. But obviously come in the day before. So we can, because we're gonna start early in the morning.
Later in the spring at some point, it's during spring break.
Well-
And
I have a kid.
The issue this year was that the Missouri, the Evergreen Communities meeting was later. And so we were gonna start running into problems with people from our group wanting to go to that, people from Equinox not being able to come because they were going to that. And so that was why we backed it up to March this year, was to stay clear of that.
Childcare.
And PLA and all the other confusions.
Bring them along.
Yeah,
Terry will babysit like the queen and Jenny.
there's always something.
Okay, any more announcements? Anything exciting? Oh, she's got one. Let's go.
I do not have an announcement. I have a request.
Oh, dear.
Related to holds, age hold protection. We now have 3 options, 1 month, 3 month, and 6 months. And the problem that we are experiencing with holds could be alleviated if libraries had a shorter age hold protection time. We moved to 1 month on the 4-branch library system. One of my libraries was completely freaked out. It has been no problem to have the 1 month age hold protection. It is really frustrating when there is lots of copies available of a book and you can see all those available copies and there are a ton of 6-month holds. Please, please, please consider if you're a 6-month library, move to 3 months, try 3 months. We were 3 month and we went to 1 month. But if everybody would just consider maybe going to that next level, it would help alleviate this problem that Scott's going crazy about.
Yes, go ahead.
Especially if hold go home works. I mean, we think it's great. We'd like even, we're at 1 month and we'd like to shorten that. You know, and just, you know, there's a couple of things to work out, but we're really enthusiastic about, you know, sharing books with other libraries and our patrons being able to put things on hold too.
Well, we came in 2020 at 6 months because they told us that's the norm and we're having this conversation now, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, we only have 1 copy, but still, it shouldn't sit there.
For the MLC, and you know,
Correct.
it just, we were used to just everything's pretty much shared right away.
Right.
Your patrons at your library get your books first, which is what the holds go home is supposed to do. But, you know, once you don't have any holds on, you know, an item, your item, it can go to another library.
Do you have to do age protect at all?
No.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. You can just kill it off completely and just the minute you buy the
Yeah,
book, send it out.
Holds go home, if that works out like that, it sounds like it should.
I just said I love you.
Okay, that's lovely. Eva,
I hate to raise my hand and nobody can get mad at me, but
we're already mad at you, Eva.
in our little dots group, we were wondering possibly if either as a pre-session or something, because a lot of the directors can make the MPLD meetings, not so much, maybe a regional training or something, depending on timing. Would there be any possibility to a pre-training meeting on reports?
Anything is possible. If you would come in a day early. I mean, are you guys willing to do that?
I am.
Right, right.
Because this year's statistical report was.
Yeah, I know. Start writing, just write numbers down. I know, it was terrible. Anybody else feeling that way?
I think any.
Like in June?
Training is gonna be great for anybody.
Okay, so if we did this in, I'm just making see, I'm the president, I can do it.
Yep.
I'm the chairperson, not president. So if we had a pre-conference in the June meeting in Branson, instead of shopping, would you be willing to come to the session early and have a pre-conference on reports?
Oh, you mean NPLD?
NPLD, I don't know what I said.
Oh, well, just remember that on Wednesday, we've got.
That's afternoon though, but in the morning, we
Oh,
don't
I
have
gotcha.
anything.
I gotcha. Okay.
Would it make more sense to do it for the users?
If they'll come to the, what they're saying is they may not get to come to the users
Oh,
conference,
I
but they
understand.
they are budgeted to come to MPLD.
I can't have both.
Oh, we're gonna have it at the users conference.
Because this is a whole thing that we all know, we are all frustrated with it, and the more we get trained. The more
Yes.
knowledge we have, the more opportunities for that knowledge.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it?
Do it both times.
Here we go.
Because if
Harry,
you- Yes,
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be sure that everybody knew, I don't know if this is widely, I don't know if there's ever been an email. Steve, you might be able to speak to this. Equinox has a training portal for Missouri Evergreen specifically, and there are great reports, documentation for both simple and classic reports. The website is, I think it's like Mo Training, or it's moevergreen.equinoxoli.org. I'll talk to Steve and see if that is able to be shared out. But not Evergreen, Equinox's documentation is pretty thorough. So as a stopgap, maybe between now and if we do some kind of reports training, I would really recommend everybody look at that.
okay, thank you.
People might hate this, but since Friday ends at noon at MPLD, you can do it after on Friday instead of before.
She's saying stay Friday afternoon when MPLD ends at noon on Friday, we could stay after and do it. If you don't want to come early. If you drive Wednesday morning, in other words. Anyway, we can work it out. We'll send out emails about it. We have until June. But I encourage you to come to the users conference. I think that's going to be a really amazing day of learning.
And also attend reports committee meeting.
Yes,
That's a good thing too.
yes, you can join her.
Is
Yes.
the users conference normally just one day?
Yes. So far. I see it growing, I really do. There's so much to learn. And like we talked about, new people come in all the time and are inheriting this mess and they don't have a clue what they're doing. So it's always good to keep training. Anything else? From the membership, yes.
I'm not a member, but I work here, so.
I work here.
Kate was talking about the portal with the password. Only a few of us have that password, but we were told to be shared at our discretion. So if you want, I can send out the portal link, the password to the directors list. There's a lot of stuff on there that's very helpful. And two, Steve, can we get a KPAC update?
I'm trying to remember, I think where we were with K-Pac is, I think, we had just finished up doing all the rest of the identification of the canned reports and the icons and how we were segmenting the reporting. And we were finishing that up. Equinox was working, we were finishing up, the nomenclature on the searching, and Equinox was finishing up the icons. They, according to our contract, they're allowed to give us, about 50, images and searches. And so that's more or less where I remember where we are, and follow-up meeting coming, so.
Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Be available for other libraries to join in.
Don't know. I mean, we are working.
Testing phase and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we are working with Galen, on that, and those of you who know, who may remember the name, I mean, Galen was very much involved in getting Aspen up and running for everybody else. We learned a lot in October, about project management, I will say that. And so you know, when Galen would ask me, do I need to be focusing on Aspen or the Aspen app or K-Pac, it was always Aspen app. And so some of that has been delayed a little bit because of that, but, we will keep people posted as we, move closer to beta test date and go live dates. So Greg, am I missing anything on K-Pac?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're going to meet, Liz and I and Rebecca are gonna meet about the searches, the search terms for the K-Pac, and then it's getting closer, I think, though.
Yeah.
And working on the icon design.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, well, I will call for a motion to adjourn. We'll do this officially. Anyone want to yell out your name?
I move to adjourn.
Gina Milburn,
Also.
Jake John, okay. We stand, all in favor, I don't care. We stand adjourned, good job. Good job, Steve, thank you. All right. And